Early on Friday, it was reported by basketball website True Hoop that Trailblazers star Damian Lillard would ask for a trade in the near future. Although Lillard denied the rumors, the six-time All-Star, who is currently playing for Team USA, said, quote, "I haven't made any firm decision on what my future will be. A lot of things go into it," unquote. Lillard also made it clear that the Blazers need to put action behind their words and show a true commitment to winning a championship. So there's a lot to unpack here between the potential trade and then denying the trade. So much to get into. Maybe where can he go if there is a trade, or who can the Blazers bring in if the team's going to improve? So, Andrew and Jack, let's get started on this. I'll start off with Andrew. What do you think about Lillard's comments, and do you think he's really going to be staying with the Blazers this season?
I have a feeling he's going to be traded. I just think that, when you look at what the Blazers have been doing, it seems like they're just in that NBA purgatory where they're always like a 5th seed or a 6th seed, and maybe they make a run once to the Western Conference Finals, and maybe they make one run, but for the most part it's first, second rounds. And just because of contracts and everything, they got Lillard, McCollum obviously, and then they usually get the veterans to get them to a certain point, but they're never like that finals team. And I think Lillard, as much as I think he likes, Portland and, the franchise, and I know he wanted to stay there for the rest of his career, I think he also wants to win a championship, especially when you see guys around you starting to win championships, and you start to think about what's my legacy going to be. And I don't think he only just cares about his legacy, but I think especially when you see your peers start winning and whatever it may be, and he's starting to get older, 31, you may want out. And to who? I mean, I think everyone in New York's going to want him to go to the Knicks. Obviously, if it's the right trade. You just look at Lillard, he's just such a great player, over 25 points per game in the last 6 years. Like, this guy scores. Like, he's definitely, that apex scorer. I mean, for the Knicks, it kind of would remind you of that Carmelo Anthony trade that really didn't work out fully for the Knicks. Obviously, he had some fun times, but it just kind of reminds you a little bit of that. Just a guy that is that apex scorer, and he's been clutch in the playoffs for sure. It's now, can he kind of hit that next level of his game, and can he get the right players around him to hit the next level of his game? We'll see. I just don't think it's going to be in Portland. So I don't know if it's this year or coming up, but I don't think he's going to stay much longer in Portland.
Yeah, the NBA has changed so much over the past few decades. And I think something that we see a lot of, whether you like it or not, but team loyalty isn't what it once was. And Damian Lillard has kind of been that guy that you kind of assume was going to be in Portland his whole career, and seemed pretty happy there. But they can't win. They're not good enough to win. And it's too bad, just the type of guy that he is. I don't think he's going to come outright and just fully demand a trade. But when you see a guy like James Harden, who just outright asks for it and ultimately gets what he wants, it's tough to not tease that idea. So, you see Dame, have some like lukewarm comments about the team, but not fully come out and say he wants a trade, and not fully say he's confident in the future. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see where he ends up, if he stays, if he leaves. But all I know is it doesn't seem like he's super happy right now.
Yeah, what I would say is, well, first off, like you guys are talking about, what makes Dame so likable is the loyalty to Portland. I mean, Roach, you said it, just no one stays where they are. I mean, we think about, obviously LeBron and, KD and just everyone, the biggest stars all leave. So the fact that he's been so committed, he's been there his whole career since like 2012, I believe, it's amazing that he's been here for so long. But that being said, whether he wants to trade or he doesn't want to trade, maybe a trade is what's, best for him overall, whether he wants to stay in Portland and win there. I mean, they fired Terry Stotts. They hired Chauncey Billups in the offseason. They still got some good players. They got Nurkic. They got CJ McCollum over there still. I mean, you still have a very good team. I mean, whether you want to say Melo is still a great contributor, it's up to you. But, what reminds me, and we talked about it before, was like briefly, was like Girardi, how he'd been there forever as the manager of the Yankees. But like, there was just like, they just couldn't get over the hill. And maybe it was time for a change. And maybe that's the same thing with Dame. I mean, they've made the playoffs for like 8 consecutive seasons, but they keep, 4 of the last 5 have been first round exits. I mean, maybe it's time. He's given everything he can to the city. They've tried different combinations of players. They've brought in different coaches. I don't know what they can do in free agency to make some kind of drastic change, but maybe, and I think he's a good guy. I don't think he's going to demand a trade publicly like that, but maybe it's what's best for the organization and for him as a player to kind of separate. And, looking at it from a basketball point of view, I mean, it also reminds me a lot of like LeBron, his first time in Cleveland, just couldn't get over the hump. Now that teams around him were not as well put together. I think this team, this GM and this organization has done a better job of giving Dame support, but sometimes what you need is a change of scenery. And, maybe that's what's best for Dame and best for the organization.
I think with stars in the NBA, especially how the league's changed, it's either, you stay on one team and the team brings in other stars that leave their home team, or you saw it with Curry. Like Curry's been, in Golden State for forever, but obviously they built around him, brought in KD, and he's been that homegrown guy, but obviously they've built amazing teams around him. And then you see guys, even like Harden, they brought in Chris Paul. It's just like, and then at a certain point, those guys go away, or, if you're Lillard, those guys really, the right guys never come. And then you're like, oh, I probably have to, leave. And maybe the Blazers try to make that one last effort to build around him again. That's possible. I mean, but that's also on the team. Do they want to do that? Or maybe they want a clean slate as well. It's like, that's kind of, I just feel like it's probably more often than not, or, more likely than not, that he just ends up leaving. I would say relatively soon. I don't see the Blazers going out and getting that, other CJ McCollum's solid, but I don't think he's that next star you probably need to win a championship. And I don't see the Blazers bringing in a guy like that, which probably leads me more likely to think that Lillard ends up getting traded.
And let's say that Lillard does want out of town. You got to think about what team can offer the best package. And unfortunately,
take on his contract.
Yeah, I mean, he's 31 years old. Yeah. I mean, I think the peak for point guards is 28 to 32, right? So, you have to think that he's going to start that decline relatively soon. I mean, we've seen guys like Chris Paul that can last the test of time, but you got to have a team that is somewhat ready to contend and can still give a good package. And there aren't too many of those teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, when we're thinking about potential trade candidates, I mean, first off, I think Philly is one. I mean, the question is with Philly, they were right in there on the heart of trade, and then Brooklyn kind of just emptied it up a little bit more, and they fell to the back of the pack. Can they offer the same kind of firepower to Portland? I mean, who knows? The question with them is, like, apparently Philly wants to get rid of Ben Simmons. Like, does Portland even want Ben Simmons? Does anyone want Ben Simmons? Like, is that even, like, an enticing trade piece? Another team to think about is Golden State. I mean, I know we talk about them all the time with, like, oh, they got KD. It's like, it always seems like they're like, I've never been a fan of Golden State. I know our producer Wolves will not like to hear that, but it's not something I want to see happen, but when you think about it, it could happen. I mean, they had the number 7 overall pick. They got Andrew Wiggins. They got James Wiseman. These are all pieces that you can use to trade for Damian Lillard. I mean, Clay and Steph are going to be there. Now, the question is, like, can Steph and Dame play together? I mean, I don't really know how that would work, but I mean, that's a potential. And then, of course, for our friends in the New York market, I don't know how realistic this is, but of course, every Knicks fan I know, oh, the Knicks. Would I love to see that? Would that be great? Would that be honestly the biggest star, I think, in New York? Say what you will about Melo. I think that would be the best player to play for the Knicks since Patrick Ewing, in my opinion. Would that be great? Sure. But what can the Knicks give up? I mean, if you want to keep Julius, who honestly I'm very shaken on after the whole playoff performance. So it'll be Julius and Dame, and then you're going to get rid of RJ probably. You're going to get rid of Obi, who is going to be the supporting cast. And then honestly, he'll probably be in a worse situation than he was in Portland. So there's so many things to think about with a trade. Honestly, as I've listed those 3 teams, maybe the best for everyone is Golden State, as much as that pains me to say.
The Golden State, 3 guards. I mean, how small is this team going to play?
I don't know. I mean,
3 guards, and then if you're getting rid of Wiseman, and if he gets, like, who's playing? Like, that's my issue with Clay. Like, if Clay's there, like, maybe Clay would get traded then, which I don't know if Steph would really like that. I mean, I feel like to have 3 guards, also, like, Clay and Steph, they're going to take their shots, and Dame's going to take his shots. It's like that big 3 is just like the big 3 of guards. I don't think we've really ever seen something, that much like that. Like, when you look at all the other big 3s, at least they have a big man. I mean, I guess the Nets would be the closest to that, but KD is obviously like 7 foot or 6'11", however tall he is. And like, I feel like that would just be, I don't know if that would work. I guess the Lakers would be another team if that would be, I think, a team that could work. But then you have so many contracts, and do you want to give up all of that depth that Lakers maybe could get for a guy like Lillard? The Knicks, I think, are just an interesting one. Like if I'm the Knicks, I try to bring in Dame because, Mike, as you said, if he's your best player since Patrick Ewing, you want to bring that guy in the building. Now you're probably gonna have to give up RJ Barrett, probably a lot of your depth. I still think if you're bringing back, Julius Randle, and again, you're hoping that Mitch Robinson comes back and that's your two down low. I don't know who your guard and forward would be, small forward, your guard opposite Lillard, but that would be an interesting. I think the Knicks would get better, but then again, how much better are we talking here? I just think that would be interesting to see. If I'm the Knicks, I'd almost try to get a free agent, just trading all your assets to get a guy. We saw it with Melo. I don't know if that's the completely right move, but to get a guy like Dame, I mean, you got to at least try and see what the price is. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking. It's tough to move that contract and then also get a lot in return as well.
You think a team like Minnesota would kick the tires on Dame? Because I really think that they have like more assets than any other team, and they do have that veteran. Like let's say you give up D'Angelo Russell and picks and the guy they drafted 5th overall. I'm blanking on his name, but I think they could put together a pretty enticing package.
I mean, I think it could be interesting. I mean, the question is also, I don't know, does Dame have a no trade clause? Is he able to dictate where he goes? Because, I mean, would he want to go to Minnesota? I mean, I don't. I mean, like also, if you're Minnesota, do you just want picks? I mean, excuse me, if you're Portland, do you just want picks back? Do you want someone that can actually help? Because, like as long as you keep your other pieces, I mean, you're not going to maybe be a playoff contender, but I mean, who knows? I mean,